The Ukrainian military keeps trying to turn a tactical breach in southern Ukraine into an operational breakthrough. However, the Russian military has been launching constant small-scale counterattacks to throw the Ukrainians off balance and quickly recapture any lost territory. The Russian military's elastic defense has been paying off, and the Ukrainian forces are having serious difficulty making significant progress in the sector. Moscow's skillful defense has benefited from the ability to rotate units from the front lines. Russian rotations. The Russian military has flooded the Orikhiv sector with reinforcements and is now able to rotate units in and out of the front lines. Russian forces appear to have recently conducted a regimental rotation in the Orikhiv area, demonstrating an ability to sustain their defenses in this critical sector of the front line, the Institute for the Study of War assessed in its latest operational update. Up until this point, the Russian military had had extreme difficulty in rotating units. As a result, units would spend months on the front lines with concomitant manpower and morale issues. The fact that the Kremlin now has the ability to rotate some of its units means that its force generation is paying off and that it has at least some reserves to play around with. Russian casualties in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Russian military and pro-Russian separatist forces continue to take serious casualties on the ground. On day 591 of the Kremlin's special military operation in Ukraine, the Russian forces lost over 600 troops killed, wounded, or captured. In addition to losing more than 600 men, the Russian forces lost a large number of heavy weapons systems and support vehicles. More specifically, over the past 24 hours, the Russians lost 23 main battle tanks, 20 infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers, 24 artillery guns and multiple launch rockets, 27 tactical unmanned aerial systems, and more than 58 vehicles and support trucks. That is the second day in a row in which the Russian forces lost more than 600 men in a sharp departure from the low casualty days of previous weeks. The higher casualties are likely the result of Russian small-scale counterattacks in southern Ukraine. In an attempt to plug the gap created by the advances of the Ukrainian forces in the Orikhiv sector in the western part of the Zaporizhia Oblast, the Russian forces have been launching counterattacks. They have been largely successful in containing the Ukrainian breach around the village of Verbov. Overall, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense claimed that as of Saturday, Ukrainian forces have killed and wounded approximately 281,700 Russian troops, destroyed 322 fighter, attack, bomber, and transport jets, 316 attack and transport helicopters, 4,800 tanks, 6,688 artillery pieces, 9,102 armored personnel carriers, and infantry fighting vehicles, 808 multiple launch rocket systems MLRS 21 warships, submarines, boats, and cutters, 9.073 vehicles, and fuel tanks, 541 anti-aircraft batteries, 5,185 tactical unmanned aerial systems, 956 special equipment platforms, such as bridging vehicles, and 4 mobile Iskander ballistic missile systems, and 1,530 cruise missiles shot down by the Ukrainian air defenses. Ukraine has said its forces have made incremental advances on the front line as maps from the Institute for the Study of War (ISW) think tank show the rate of Kyiv's progress in its counteroffensive. Over 4 months ago, Ukraine launched a counteroffensive with the aim of recapturing Russian-occupied territory, which Kyiv and its western backers have said has been slower than anticipated. The ISW noted on Friday that, the previous day, geolocated footage showed that Ukrainian troops had advanced towards a tree line in western Zaporizhia Oblast, between Robotyne, which Ukraine captured in August, and Verbov, the settlement thought to be next in Kyiv's sights. One ISW map shows this advance toward Verbov and how, on October 4, Ukrainian troops had moved east of the settlement of Novoprokopivka. The graphic also indicated how the situation in Zaporizhia had developed over the last few days. Geolocated footage showed how Kyiv's troops had controlled the 3 trench systems south of Robotyne. The ISW said that Ukrainian forces continued successful offensive actions near Andriivka, which is around 5 miles southeast of Bakhmut, the Donetsk city fiercely fought over for months. Another ISW map outlined how this fight continues, although it notes that Russian forces had advanced to the E50 highway. The U.S. independent think tank's assessment comes as Ilya Yevlash, spokesperson for the Eastern Grouping of Forces, said that his forces were preparing offensive operations throughout the autumn and winter period, even if rain and fog could complicate the use of drones and tactical and army aviation. The ISW has previously said that the change in weather will not stop either side from conducting offensive operations throughout the winter if they were still well supplied. How Ukraine continues with its counteroffensive will also be determined by continued Western provisions of small arms and ammunition, the think tank added. It comes amid a barrage of Russian shelling on Friday with a total of 51 explosions recorded throughout the day, the Sumy Oblast Military Administration reported on Telegram. Overnight on Friday, Russian forces launched several Onyx supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles from Crimea targeting Odessa Oblast, Ukraine's southern defense forces reported on Telegram. The missiles hit a recreational facility and a grain storage unit in the port city with debris and a blast wave setting alight garages and damaging apartment blocks. There was also a cluster bomb attack in Zaporizhia Oblast, which killed a woman and wounded 2 people, Regional Governor Yuri Malashko reported on Saturday. It follows an international outcry at missile strikes at a village in the Kharkiv region on Thursday, which local officials said killed 52 people. Another missile strike the next day in the city of Kharkiv killed a 10-year-old and his grandmother, officials said. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces reported on October 7 that Russia had lost 271,440 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of its full-scale invasion on February 24 last year. This number includes 610 casualties Russian forces suffered just over the past day.